The Oscars suck, and my opinions are the only ones that matter. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Year I Review. My name is kubas-meyer, and today I want to talk about movies, specifically my favorite movies of 2018. I have here 7 hyper-specific categories, each with a winner and a runner-up. There's an extremely long list of movies that I didn't see that may well have altered the categories chosen, but likely not the winners of these specific categories. And with that, best sci-fi film about human self-destruction, Annihilation. After spending half a year walking out of movie theaters anytime the trailer for Alex Garland's second feature came on, I saw the film on the big screen 4 separate times. I knew after the very first that it was my favorite movie of the year and that it would remain so. And so it remained. Annihilation is an incredible study of broken people, specifically 4 women who are on a suicide mission, the results of which you know before you even know that there was a suicide mission in the first place. It delves into their trauma and the way it has shaped them, and then shapes their world. The shimmer, an ever-expanding alien force field of sorts, twists nature and person alike in ways that is both beautiful and horrible. Anchored by excellent performances and stellar production design, Annihilation succeeds in enveloping you in its chaos and confusion, but is not in itself all that confusing. The questions it leaves you with are ones for you to contemplate on your own terms, and then go and read a bunch of articles from really smart people about the terms that they contemplated it on, and feel dumb for not quite getting it the first or third time around. Or maybe that was just me. Runner-up, Upgrade. Best prestige drama with a tour de force action sequence, Widows. Steve McQueen is probably my favorite English language director working today. Post Hunger, which I respect immensely but find a bit too art experimental to actually like, he has had a string of absolute triumphs. Shame, 12 Years a Slave, and now Widows are all excellent films full of incredible performances and beautiful imagery. McQueen, who is British, seems to have made it his mission to show Americans the ugliness of their country's history in 12 Years a Slave and present day in Widows. Even as his most marketable and generally accessible film, Widows is heady. What is ostensibly a heist thriller plays with gender politics conceptually and racial politics literally. It deals with police brutality and wealth inequality and the traumatizing effects of domestic abuse and all manner of other unpleasantries. But its handling of all of this is deft and succeeds in not feeling overstuffed or too quote-unquote message-y. And if that weren't enough, the action sequences are awesome as heck. The heist itself is a nail-biter, but the opening 5 minutes are the ones that really set the stage. Truly, Widows has one of the best openings I can think of for any movie ever. The parallel action of intimacy and destruction is exciting, jarring, and thematically on point. McQueen had me before, but Widows further cemented it. I will follow him anywhere. Runner-up, You Were Never Really Here. Best horror movie relating to an existing property at least 10 years old, Suspiria. My girlfriend walked out of Suspiria during that scene 20-something minutes in. I understood, but it's a shame, because Suspiria is an epic experience, one that harkens back to another era while retaining its own modern identity. I remember when the first trailer came out looking like a lost film from the time of the original, but considering that the original still, exists, there was some initial consternation that maybe there was no driving purpose behind a remake. I mean, Suspiria is one of the classics of Italian horror, so why? But then the runtime was announced at 40 minutes longer, and it was pretty clear that Luca Guadagnino had much more to say. And oh boy, is it a lot. If I had to describe Suspiria in a single word, it would be disturbing. And sure, that scene is disturbing in an explicit way, but the feeling is pervasive no matter what's going on. The violence is disturbing, but so is the conversation, and so is the dancing, so is literally everything. It is designed to disorient and does so in a spectacular fashion. So long as you're ready to get something under your skin, you will find Suspiria to be supremely effective and affecting. Runner-up, The Strangers. Pray at Night. Best heavily stylized movie about Oakland gentrification. Sorry to Bother You. This was a shockingly close race, but Sorry to Bother You comes out on top largely because of the heavily in the category name. First-time director Boots Riley has made a film that is truly one of a kind. It is a ride, especially if you don't know what's coming, which you shouldn't, because the less you know, the more effective it will ultimately be. And the internet has done a surprisingly good job of not spoiling it for the world. And I'm going to continue in that vein. Honestly, I just don't have a lot worth saying about it, other than that it is amazing and one of the best movies of the year, and you should see it. Runner-up, Blindspotting. Best Marvel movie that is not part of the MCU, but is better than pretty much everything in the MCU. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was a very clarifying movie-going experience for me. I have seen nearly every Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, and I like basically all of them to varying degrees, but one of my top 3 is Spider-Man Homecoming. It's been long enough since I've seen the Sam Raimi editions that I don't know how it compares to them, honestly, but certainly compares favorably to others in the MCU. But I often think about the oh so many takes out there about how empty the Marvel Cinematic Universe is. But then I get stuck when I'm trying to find a point of comparison. Certainly recently, any competition has been even emptier, with the single exception of maybe Wonder Woman. But it turns out that it needed to be a Marvel property that brings all of that into focus. Into the Spider-Verse is mind-bogglingly good. Every single thing about it. But what really succeeded for me was that it was something different. The decision to make the film animated may have been some kind of budget constraint, but the film is so much better for it. The animation allows the blending of a half dozen very different types of Spider-Man into a single universe and oh so much more. While one could argue that any Marvel movie is mostly animated, the rejection of photorealism allows for unique visuals that are just refreshing. When was the last time we had a studio comic book movie anywhere near this stylish? Sin City? 300 maybe? Of course, visual excellence does not a quality narrative make, but it's amazing there too. Miles Morales is so much more interesting than Peter Parker. That guy's just way too ingrained in our culture. It's time for someone new. In fact, this actually makes me more excited for the prospect of a new person playing Captain America or Iron Man or whomever in the years to come. We don't need Tony Stark or Steve Rogers. Let's get some other people under the same mask. Spider-Verse shows just how boring and samey everything else we've seen actually is. It's different, and it's amazing. Runner-up, Deadpool 2. Best sixth entry in a big-budget Hollywood action franchise, Bumblebee. While the runner-up here is actually the better movie, it was a continuation of an already great series that just continues to be great, but a great Transformers movie. Now that's something new and exciting. In fact, I would guess that at least 10% of that crazy high Rotten Tomatoes score is a direct result of the shattering of low expectations. But even if you went into it with high hopes, I can't imagine someone being disappointed with Bumblebee. It's the sequel to The Edge of 17 that I didn't know I needed. It's E.T., but E.T. can shoot missiles from his arm. Right from the Man of Steel opening, Bumblebee shows that it is going to have awesome action sequences. They are great because they're clear. At any time, you know exactly what's going on, even when the things that are fighting are multi-story robots. There's no ridiculous close-ups of gears that rapidly cut into chaos. It steps back so you can really see what's going on. Michael Bay may have produced, but it seems like he didn't have much to say, and thank gosh for that. Plus, the drama is totally solid as well. Haley Steinfeld really is very good at playing a frustrated teenager whose closest relations have died, see Edge of 17 and also Into the Spider-Verse, and her relationship with Bee is one of the more heartfelt of 2018. The interactions with other humans are a little less developed, but they're fine, and I can't help but appreciate the agency that she has, that everyone has, really. People aren't passive in Bumblebee. They make things happen, and that's far too uncommon these days. No one says that the sixth time is the charm, but that appears to have been the case here. So more like this, please. Runner-up, Mission Impossible Fallout. Best movie that I wouldn't have seen if it weren't for MoviePass, Blockers. As I mentioned all the way back on day one in my review of the death of MoviePass, the real game changer of that service was how it gave people the ability to check out things that they were unsure of. Especially in New York, where a ticket is bare minimum $15 and quickly passes $20, seeing a movie that you don't know you'll love, or that you don't see why it couldn't wait until it hits VOD, at which point you'll still never see it, is kind of a sketchy proposition. Not having it would have meant missing a film like Blockers, where the trailers were funny enough, but it wasn't clear that the comedy could prop up the whole film. Initial reviews were surprisingly, to me, good, and so knowing that it wasn't going to cost a fortune if I did hate it, I took the chance, and I loved it. The basic premise that parents want to stop their kids from having sex is a potentially problematic one, and from the trailers it wasn't clear which side of the line that would fall on. Fortunately, it's hard on the one that realizes how weird it is that parents want to control their kids like that. The gross out aspect is played up in the marketing by the presence of John Cena's butt chugging, but that is the exception in the film itself, which is nice because I prefer my gross cinematic imagery to be entirely serious, thank you very much. See Suspiria. In its place is a very heartfelt teen comedy about sex, but ultimately about friendship and familyship. There really haven't been enough R-rated teen comedies in recent years, but if we're starting to see a return of them with The Edge of 17 and Blockers, I'm very on board. Runner-up, Game Night. Thank you so much for watching. So this was the list of my favorite movies. What were yours? Do you agree? Do you think I'm an idiot? If you do, I totally understand. I hope you liked the video. If you didn't, I'm sorry. If you want to see more, please subscribe. I hope to see you next week / next year.